to provide an easy way for anybody to easily and conveniently register business. Today in Nigeria, because of technology, you can register a business name within 24 hours. But before, it takes more than 2 weeks to register a business. Some states, you even have to come all the way to Abuja before to register business. But today, because of technology, you can register from anywhere. You don't need to go to any office to achieve that. So doing that will help you as an SME to save time and cost, because movement, transportation also costs money. And the time, you can use that time to boost your productivity. Also, if you look at getting permission for construction, in places like Abuja, with ages, today it is easier to process to get permission, building permission. Because when you apply to development control, they have to check the certificate at ages and other places. And also they leverage on IT technology to enhance productivity in doing that as well. And also, it helps in keeping record, where you can avoid having people claiming ownership to the same property. So, especially when you use emerging technologies like blockchain, it will make things easier for everyone. You have the record will be transparent and tamper-proof. Nobody can change what is there. And even if there is a change of ownership, you can easily do it. You can leverage on technology like blockchain to transfer the ownership of valuables, because blockchain is like internet of values, while our normal internet is internet of information. That is why it is even called information technology. If you send an email to someone, you are sending just a copy to that person while keeping the original with you. But on blockchain technology, when you transfer asset or document, you are transferring the original. You are no more the original owner, and you don't have access to it anymore. So technology will help us to revolutionize our land registry. Then, when you look at getting access to electricity, or like in the Be Ready, they talk about paying your utility bills. That one also takes time and costs money. Today, we pay for the Abuja environmental, they call it, there is a bill from Abuja environmental, tenant bill, NEPA, and so on. But with technology, you can pay from your office or from your home without moving to anywhere. You save time and cost for doing that. So technology can enable that. It is already happening. Today, we buy our electricity mostly using our mobile phones. We don't go to NEPA anymore. Unlike before, you have to go and queue to buy electricity. If you look at getting access to credit as well, even though we have a lot to do in that regard, but with digital banking and online banking, that has also improved significantly. So we can leverage on that as well, especially when it comes to getting credit, where banks need to get liquidity for you to get that, and mostly they are looking for tangible things for you to get access. Most of the SMEs, some they are just starting, they don't have any asset to give us a liquidity to access that, to access the credit. So we can use technology, especially blockchain technology, can enable that. And also with technology, you know everybody, you know what the person has, he cannot run away. You have his identity. So using technology, we can build an infrastructure that you can access credit without any liquidity or any guarantor. It will make it easier for you to access. We have piloted something using our initiative in agriculture called NAFSA, where we have a platform and we created an ecosystem. You can access credit or you can get a government grant in a closed wallet, because sometimes when you also give that money to people, it ends in wrong hand, especially when the money is coming from governments. So we tested that using a closed wallet whereby you can only spend the money on something that will help your business, especially in the farming area. We tested the platform. Then also, when you talk about protecting investors, especially the minor investors, with technology, you can make everything open and transparent. Nobody can cheat you in your business. When you invest in something, you can see it, it is open and transparent, and there is a record. When it comes to audit, you can access any information. But when we use a paper manual, that's where even some corruption can come in, or someone can try and manipulate the system by changing things. But with technology, you cannot change without the trail, without the information of who did what. You can get that information at any time. And with emerging technologies, that is even easier. And there is also a parameter that talk about enforcing contract. When you have a contract with someone to deliver a service, there need for enforcement. So there is a technology also that can help us to do that smart contract. With smart contract, you don't even need human intervention. Everything can be automated. You can have a contract with someone to pay something if he delivers a service. That system can monitor the service and ensure he only gets payment when delivered. And if the service is not satisfactory, you can get your money back. So this is possible with smart contract, and technology can make it happen. And when you talk about recruitment as well, you can easily get access. There are many platforms available that you can recruit the talent you want. And also, as a job seeker, also you can put your profile there to easily get employed. So these are how technology can help us to achieve that. Then what is government doing to make this happen? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to uplifting Nigeria through digital transformation, innovation, and economic growth. So to achieve this, the president has mandated our ministry to accelerate the diversification of Nigerian economy by enhancing productivity in critical sectors. When you talk about critical sectors, SMEs for me is the most critical sector in the world, not even in Nigeria, because SME represents about 96% of businesses in Nigeria, and more than 80% of our workforce, and contributes almost 50% to our GDP. So if we really want to uplift our people and grow our economy, is to empower you, the SMEs, to grow. So we can easily empower you to leapfrog using technology. So to achieve this, our minister, the Honorable Minister for Communications, Innovations, and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, unveiled strategic plan for our ministry with 5 strategic pillars. Firstly, knowledge. Knowledge is the foundation upon which countries build robust and sustainable economy. Secondly, policies. We need to have policies that can enable the environment for you to thrive. Then infrastructure. We need infrastructure for you to build your business. When we talk about infrastructure in digital economy, we are not referring to the conventional infrastructure, roads, railways, and so on. No, digital public infrastructure. If you look at history, we started building these conventional infrastructures after the second industrial revolution, which was about mass production. Goods were produced in mass, and we need to move them from one place to another. That's why we invested, or government is investing in conventional infrastructure. Today we are talking about digital infrastructure, where data is the currency of the economy. And we need to move data from one place to another. We need to process data, we need to store it, and we need to capture data. Therefore, we need to also invest in public digital infrastructure. Then the 4th pillar is about innovation, entrepreneurship, and capital. You need to innovate. After innovation, you need to be an entrepreneur, and you need access to capital to develop your product. Then lastly but not the least is about trade. When you build that your products and services, you need to trade it. And in the Ease of Doing Business report also, they talk about cross-border trading, how you move services from one country to another. So in Nigeria, we can take it to the global market. So to implement this plan at our agency, NIDA, also, we have crafted our strategic roadmap and action plan for 2024 to 2027, which has 8 strategic pillars. Firstly, it's about fostering digital literacy and cultivating talent. Why digital literacy and talent? The chairman spoke about we need to focus more on human capital. And also in digital economy, human resource or human capital is the greatest resource we need anywhere. There are many research talking about this, like Conferry Research predicts that by 2030, there would be 85.2 million talent deficit globally. If left unaddressed, that could result to 8.5 trillion US dollars in unrealized annual value. This deficit is as a result of aging, mainly in the developed countries. But in Africa and Nigeria, we have young population. We have a population of 60% is under 25, digitally native, and have access to the latest technology and services. I think someone spoke about ChatGPT. I can't remember, yeah, MD. When ATM was launched, it took about 20 years to reach Nigeria. But when ChatGPT was launched, it reached Nigeria instantly, and Nigerians started using it instantly. So you can see the difference. Before, technology takes time to reach us in Africa, but today, because of the power of the technology, the connectivity, and the massive processing power, you can launch anything anywhere in the world, and our people can start using it immediately. So we have the population, and we have a young population. We can harness that population to position ourselves as the global talent net exporter. The representative of the vice president spoke about our initiative in our ministry, 3MTT, 3 million tech talent, which was designed to train 3 million Nigerians on high skills in demand to position Nigeria as the global talent net exporter. And also there is another research by PwC which resonated with what we do. The research called Nigerian Brain Export, the optimal path to developing Nigerian economy. The research argues that Nigeria, the fastest way for Nigeria to become a superpower is through harnessing its human capital. If you look at the trajectory of most developed countries, it took them between 40 to 70 years to become developed. But we don't have the legacy of this time anymore. And also, that path is no more valid. Normally, they go through migrating from being agri country to small manufacturing, then high value added manufacturing, and to become a developed country. Even the recent ones like South Korea, it took them about 50 years to achieve more than $10,000 per capita. So, but in Nigeria, we can leapfrog through talent, because globally today, services dominated the economy. And even in Nigeria, services has the largest contribution to our GDP. And services is about talent. It is about digital. So we can leverage on our talents, on our young population to build talent and position Nigeria, because we don't have aging problem to bridge this global talent deficit. So that's why our first pillar is about fostering digital literacy and cultivating talents. The second pillar, it is about building a robust research ecosystem. When we talk about talent and digital literacy, these are our quick wins, something we can easily do it, get value from it. Because even according to PwC, Nigeria can generate over 50 billion US dollars from talent export if we can train 1.5 million to 2 million Nigerians and put them on remote working to live in Nigeria and work remotely. We can generate more than 50 billion US dollars that can help us to address some of our trade balance and forex challenge. So, but for the future, research is what will take us there. So we need to focus on research, especially on emerging technologies. And our ministry has set target for us to put Nigeria among top 25 percentile in 6 emerging technologies. including artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotics, UAV, IoT, and additive manufacturing. These emerging technologies are general purpose technologies. They cut across so many sectors, and SMEs can benefit the most from them if we use them. So we've started with offering grants for Nigerians to do research on artificial intelligence, how to use artificial intelligence to improve our agri-produce, how to use artificial intelligence in health sector, in education, in finance, and many more. You can use it to solve many problems because these technologies mostly can help us leapfrog and solve real-life problems. So we are focusing on that, and we need SMEs, even though in the tech sector we call them startup, but they are the same thing as SMEs. They are starting as small, medium enterprises like you. Then the third pillar, it is about strengthening policy implementation and enhancing or strengthening our legal frameworks. We have identified 9 policies we want to implement in our ministry. Out of the 9, NIDA is critical to 7. And we are going to come up with more legal frameworks to help you. Like we have the Nigerian Startup Act, which was passed into law last year to help startups to easily and conveniently start and grow businesses in Nigeria. Then we have another pillar on promoting inclusive access to digital infrastructure and services. Because as a government, we have a responsibility to carry everyone along. When it comes to like inclusivity or access to digital infrastructure, it is no more a privilege, but it is a necessity. With the way we are moving, using systems to make decisions, using systems to do a lot of things like recruitment, to do credit worthiness profiling, crime profiling, and so on. So we need to carry everyone along. We cannot afford to be left behind in Africa, in Nigeria, and even within Nigeria, we need to carry everyone. So government is serious about this inclusive access to the digital infrastructure and services. So we are investing hugely, and also we are coming up with legal frameworks that will make it easier for investors to come and invest in digital public infrastructure. Because investing in that, it will make things easier for SMEs. It will automate everything in government. Government services will be electronic. So basically, to build digital public infrastructure, we look at about 3 building blocks. The digital identity, which we have the national identity number, NIN, then the payment system. In Nigeria, we have a strong payment system. But what we are lacking is a data exchange platform, a platform that will make it easier for you to seamlessly exchange information across MDAs. A platform that if you give your information to NIMSI, you don't need to give the same information to immigration or to your bank or for driver's license. So we are working on building that platform. Then the 5th pillar is about strengthening cybersecurity and enhancing digital trust. And also, one of the speakers talked about cybersecurity. As we digitize, we need to secure the digital space. And also, we need to build confidence to get everyone to use those spaces. I will never forget when we joined Central Bank during the orientation. They shared some, I don't know whether it is true or not, that when the bank started using ATM, some people were saying they cannot transact with machine. If there is problem, who will they hold accountable? And also there was example they gave us someone, she has a bank account, but every week she'll go and withdraw her money and deposit it back just to make sure the money is there. So all this is because of lack of trust. So as we digitize also, we need to build that trust. Still, some people don't trust these digital platforms. They don't put the information there because there is also a lot of fraudulent activities happening on this space. So we are working on many initiatives to strengthen that cybersecurity and also enhance the digital trust. One of them is public key infrastructure, where you can have digital signature. You can sign things digitally, and you can transact with anybody digitally without any fear that someone can hack your transaction. And also we can have e-invoicing. Imagine you paying your child school fees. You don't need to go to your bank or the school. Maybe the school can just send email to you or notification. That notification automatically will go and debit your account. Or you supplying something to a government agency. You don't need to bother yourself about taking the invoice, going from one office to another to follow for payment. All what you need to do is to send email, electronic invoice that you've completed your work, and that invoice will connect to a system automatically without human intervention and process your payment. All these are possible and is something we can do. Some countries are already doing it. So we have that plan as part of our strategy of building the digital public infrastructure to have the public key infrastructure that will enable all this. And also in the e-commerce also, we are having this issue. Many times you see some people sharing website that you can put information for recruitment or for government intervention just for them to collect information and use it against you, maybe to have access to your details or your account, something like that. So, but with this, that is what is called also e-trust. Some websites, if you visit, you see they have one green tick. That means they are secured. So we want to enforce that in Nigeria and make it part of everything we do. As you register a website, you must have that digital trust. That means nobody can clone your website. The same thing with our mobile phones. People used to hack and clone it. So with the digital signature, if all our mobile phones will use it, nobody can hack it because it's going to be encrypted using cryptography. That is very difficult for anyone to hack. And you need to have your private key to decrypt it. So this is part of the things we are working on. The sixth pillar, it is about nurturing innovative and entrepreneurial ecosystem. So when you talk about SMEs, basically in IT, we call it startup, and startup is about innovation. And we look at innovation as a process of taking idea from inception to impact. And when you have idea is where problem and solution cross. We have so many problems in Nigeria that need innovative solution. So we encourage our startup to use technology as a process to invent something to solve that problem. But the invention is not the end. The end is how to commercialize that invention, because invention costs money, while innovation and help you to get money. So as that, we have so many initiatives. One of them is the Startup Act I mentioned, that we work with startups to achieve that. And also another thing is access to capital. During my side chat with the MD DBN, I was asking him, why is it difficult for our startup to access all the fund the bank is giving to SMEs? So he talked about the risk of giving startup, because startup mostly they don't have anything tangible. It's idea. But we forgot that idea or innovation is what lifts countries out of poverty. I don't know if anyone reads Prosperity Paradox. Okay. The book talked about how innovation lifts countries from what? Prosperity Paradox, how innovation, I can't remember the last time, but what they talked about in the book, they spoke about there was a country where the citizens spend more than 50% of their income on food. Less than 10% has access to electricity. Infant mortality was very high, and life expectancy was less than 46 years, and less than 10% of the citizens has secondary school certificate. If you are to guess, which country would you say? Nigeria? Any other guess? India? Any other guess? So your all guesses are wrong. It was the United States of America. In early 1800, and they said the U.S. get itself out of that mess as a result of work of two people, startups, Henry Ford and Isaac Singer. Henry Ford invented Ford T model, and Isaac Singer invented sewing machine. At that time, having a car was like having a private jet. So when he said he wanted to get the horses off the road and put cars, people were laughing at him. Who will have money to buy car? But his target is to democratize access to cars, crash the cost, so that people will afford to buy cars. As a result, filling stations started constructing stations. People saying the parts, repairing the cars, and so on. So he created a huge chain of or ecosystem of different suppliers and people doing different businesses to help that. Likewise, Isaac Singer, at that time they said people hardly have more than 2-3 sets of clothes, because it took about 3 weeks to make a set. But his mission was to make that sewing machine affordable so that people can have it at home and use it. So that what helped America develop and became what it is today. And even in Africa, we had a similar experience. In early 2000, when Mo Ibrahim wanted to invest in telecommunication, nobody wanted to give him loan. No bank, no friend, no family member. Because Mo Ibrahim is a British Sudanese. So he was working with British Telecom. At that time, he decided that he wanted to come to Africa and invest in telecommunication. And people were saying at that time, there were more landlines in Manhattan than in the whole Africa. But 10 years after, there were more cell phones, mobile phones in Africa than in the whole American continent. And when he started, he used to build the road himself, use solar power to power the cell towers and many more. Within 5 years, he expanded to 15 countries, and he sold the business at about 4.2 billion US dollars. And today, telecommunication in Africa is worth more than 150 billion US dollars, and it is the biggest sector of our economy. In Nigeria, the biggest company in Nigeria is a telecommunication company, and it created more wealth and prosperity than any sector. So that's why we need to encourage our citizens also to build this kind of solutions platform, because technology is a source of inspiration for you to come up with new business model. It makes things that conventionally are not possible to be inevitable today. We live in a time whereby the largest media company does not produce an article. You and I write for it. Today, Facebook is the largest media company. And the ones following Facebook, Twitter, X, and so on, they don't publish. We write for them free of charge. We think they are free, and they see us as a free resources also. Then if you look at the largest hospitality company as well, Airbnb owns not a single room. You just leverage on technology to achieve that. Likewise, Uber, the largest transportation company, it doesn't own a single car. So technology makes things possible. And we've seen it in Nigeria also. Within the last 5 years, Nigeria has the largest or the most vibrant technology ecosystem in Africa. Out of 7 unicorn companies in Africa, 5 are in Nigeria. So a unicorn means a company with more than $1 billion US dollar valuation. And a startup, mostly they started in a garage, in a small office, or with a briefcase. They don't even have an office to start, but they start with a briefcase. And one of that company, which is a fintech in Nigeria, is the largest among the unicorns in Africa. And also, you know, fintech is like they are trying to disrupt the financial sector. So that fintech also is larger than the largest bank in Nigeria, and is just 5 years old. And also, they have expanded to more than 18 countries in Africa. They are also in Asia, in US, they are in India. So you can see the power of technology. You can start small, but you grow quickly or exponentially. So that's why it is important for Debian technology can help us leverage, and we can leverage technology to improve ease of doing business for SMEs. And also, according to research, when you use technology in your SME, you can increase your revenue or your productivity by 26%, and you reduced your overhead cost by around 22%. So look at it. If all SMEs in Nigeria can digitize today, it can increase, like we said, SMEs contribute almost 50% to our GDP. Our GDP is about 477. So 50% is about 238. So 26% of that is about 60 billion. So that means we can add 60 billion to our GDP by just leveraging technology. Therefore, it is important to consider those startups making the SMEs to leverage technology priority when it comes to access to fund. The seventh pillar in our strategic roadmap is about forging strategic collaboration and partnership. Because with technology, we call it a global village. Anything you do in Nigeria, in anywhere in the world, they will know what you do, and you can easily connect with them. And with technology, you can have a platform that will help you to do that. I know some SMEs owners who are using this kind of platforms to export their products and services to other countries. And even the nano we talk about, I know a nano SME selling kuli, but leveraging on technology to increase productivity. She told me before she used to carry the kuli from Suleja to Abuja, but today she uses WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram to put the kuli. Potential customers contact her, make order, pay using technology, online banking, and she sent to them using delivery services. So you can see from the nano to the macro to the small and medium, technology can empower across the board. So that's why we forged that strategic collaboration. Like recently, we had a conference in Lagos, Global Tech Africa Conference. The idea is to bring Africans together, to create a Pan-African movement that will help us to leverage on our African technologies to build Africa. Today, we collaborate more with the Western countries than our neighbors. And Africa, our strength is in our collective effort. It is about our population. Like I spoke about the startup in Africa, we have the largest or the youngest population, and in the next 30 years, maybe Africa will be home to more than 60% of the youth in the world. So that means we are the next frontier when it comes to digital economy. So that platform is to bring Africans together. But we got interest from the Western countries. A large delegation from Germany attended the conference, and they want us to build a talent pipeline between Nigeria and Germany to help youths and women especially. The delegation, the delegation lead, she's a woman, and also she has a large women in the delegation as well, top women in Germany. A minister was there from Germany, a senator, and the CEO of GIZ. They were all women, and they are interested in helping Nigerian women to build that talent pipeline. And also the US government supported us. They even sponsored a day where they brought all US businesses in Nigeria to listen to our startups, to hear what they like, the kind of help the startup they want, and also for the startup to understand the investment appetite so that we build solutions based on that. We also had a delegation from Business Sweden also, and Nordic region. They are all interested in partnering with that platform to build a Pan-African conference so that we can all have the experience of latest technology in Africa without traveling to the Western countries. So this is the kind of strategic collaboration and partnership we are building, and all this is to support you, the startups and SMEs owners. Then the seventh one is, okay, the eighth one, the last one, is about our internal transformation, because we believe in continuity and sustainability. Therefore, we need to build strong institutions. So we are transforming the agency so that it can deliver and execute all our digital vision in Nigeria. And the key or the focus of all this digital vision is to uplift Nigeria by or through digital transformation and innovation. And you startups and SMEs, you are the engine room for digital transformation and innovation. So in conclusion, I want to encourage DBN to keep up the good work and also include startup in all your funding scheme. The MD has made promise that he will establish a fund for startup. I even tried to get a commitment. I tried to get a commitment of how much fund, but he refused to tell me. So, but we'll follow up on that promise to ensure that we take care of the tech startup in all the funds you give SMEs. So thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for having me.
So we kept our eyes open, and we kept our ears at alert. Everybody was paying attention, and I looked at the LED screens, and there were lots of noddings, lots of agreements, and lots of knowledge delivered here today. It has been a moment of unlearning, relearning, and learning. And that is what is expected of a keynote speaker. We have listened quite earnestly to our keynote speaker today. A lot of the things that he has said are things that in some parts of our brain we know them, but then we kind of like resist change and tell ourselves that we may not need them. But now it is clear to us that when you look at Gen Zs, you look at millennials, and then you look at those of us described as ancestors. When my children say you are of the ancestor generation, I just laugh. Because what it's all about is to keep moving, to keep learning, to keep updating, and staying in that place where nobody, no matter how they try, refer to you as an ancestor. We are an intergenerational society across the world. And I always like to say that when I retired from active public service, I went to the United Nations Institute of Aging to learn how we age. At that point, I had no idea that there was such an institute. But when I found it, I went to Malta, where it resides, to learn that women age differently from men, men age differently from women, and intergenerational aging, if you spend more time with an older person, you add 7 years to your life, scientifically proven. So in Africa, as you heard from the keynote speaker, it's all about really wisdom, isn't it? When you stay with your grandmother, you're just wiser than everybody else. And I believe that that is what it is all about. But let's take a closer look at some of the things we heard today. You cannot be cheated. In your business, it is open and transparent and less prone to corruption if it's digital. It's faster to register your business now than it used to be, and we're leapfrogging using technology, and the Ministry of Digital Economy is very busy with Dr. Bosun there, creating strategies and giving out money to make sure that the young people are able to leverage on technology and to do what they know how to do best. The keynote speaker has also talked about how there are digital natives, people who really cannot write very, very much these days. They spend their time on the computer. And he gave us all the pillars that we need to know about how to move forward. More than any other pillar, the last one, digital transformation. And the seventh one, strategic collaboration, is the reason why you can see him seated beside the DBN managing director. His plan, therefore, is to ensure that there's funding going to startups. But the plan of the DBN managing director is to ensure that it is de-risked, is to ensure that as a bank, he knows who he's giving this money to. And in strategic collaboration, they need to sit together and have a conversation for the benefit of all of us. Digital migrants, digital natives, and digital ancestors, all of us together so that we can benefit. When I retired from active public service, I made up my mind that, and I've been giving lectures across the country about retirement is not the end of the world, it is just the beginning. And so I decided that I want to do Airbnb now. And because I love jewelry, I also want to be I'm involved in gemstones. And so I'm not a startup, I don't know what I am. But I shall visit Dr. Panache and find out what I am to see if I qualify. And if I'm high risk, he will tell me and how we can find a way. Because they are not really the ones giving the loan in DBN, they just facilitate it. They just ensure that they provide capacity for funding organizations to give money to those who are so qualified and who are not high risk. And when they say it's for sustainable growth, it is important, because if they give loans to some 419s and they don't get their money back using them, then they are dead as an organization. So we hear both of them. But I think today, what we have heard shows us that Nigeria continues to be in the forefront of knowledge all over the world. Our keynote speaker, Kashifu Inua Abdullahi, DJ Nita, knows his onions. I was speaking with the Director of Corporate Services of DBN, and he said to me, I asked him for his slides. His slide is his brain, ladies and gentlemen. He's unflappable, he's cerebral, he's confident in his IT skills and professional to the core. A square peg in a square hole. And if you drop him in the United States, in Lebanon, in Israel, anywhere in the world, he will represent Nigeria well. We're so very proud of you. And DBN chose very, very well to make you the keynote speaker of their themed 2023 annual lecture series. We thank you for educating us and for being human in that education that you have provided for us. We thank you. A lot of our university students are breaking new grounds. Bayero University Kano, entering into collaboration with 9Mobile. And a lot of our children are being poached by IT companies around the world to come and help them with the work that they are doing. So this is really a very important area of field, and we really thank DBN for starting the conversation. We thank you so very much. We're moving very quickly now to the portion that will be discussing some of the things that our keynote speaker has spoken about. We are now introducing the panel session. And I'd like to ask you to permit me to introduce the moderator, Professor Joseph Nnanna, Chief Economist, Development Bank of Nigeria. Professor Nnanna, I would like you to sit on that chair, this one, yes please, while I run your profile. Because it's a sterling profile, and it needs for us to take our time to get into the place of this moderator who is going to help us unravel the issues around digitization and technology today. Professor Joseph Nnanna serves as the Chief Economist of the Development Bank of Nigeria, PLC. In this capacity, he leads a research, monitoring, and evaluation and sustainability arm of the bank. A seasoned professional with numerous years of experience in the United States mortgage banking, manufacturing, and telecommunication industry, serving in managerial roles before joining academia. Before joining DBN, Professor Nnanna was a tenured professor of business and economics in Oklahoma State University. And holding that position, his scholarly works have been published in numerous academic journals, such as Economic Analysis and Policy Journal, Economic Analysis and Policy, Journal of Public Affairs, International Journal of Public Administration, Politics and Policy, Foreign Trade Review, the CBN Bullion, the International Trade Journal, Macroeconomics and Finance in Emerging Market Economies. He has also published in the Journal of Chinese Economies. Furthermore, he publishes an article every quarter in Business Day. Me and you are cousins, as I am a columnist with Business Day, as I'm sure you already know. And so together, he brings to the table the knowledge that he requires to be the moderator of this panel. He contributed a book chapter to the European Investment Bank's publication entitled Banking in Africa, Financing Transformation Amid Uncertainty, with fellow economists in the EIB, and in 2021 published a book entitled Banking in Nigeria, Financing During Turbulent Times. He earned a Bachelor of Business Administration and MBA degrees in accounting, a master's degree in economics, and a doctorate in corporate governance and economics from Southwestern Oklahoma State University, Florida Metropolitan University, the University of Oklahoma, and Agossi University, respectively. He's a member of the Nigerian Economic Society and the American Economic Association. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the very respected Professor Joseph Nnanna. You know, in the past, when you hear professor, you expect to see gray hair. This is professor with a swag. Yeah. So here we have Professor Nana taking his seat. I am going to mention the panelists one by one. And as I mention them, their names will come up on the screen and their citations would come up via technology. So, we have Baki Salihu, Chief Technical Officer, Nine Mobile, represented by Mr. Suleiman Umar, Director Network Engineering, Nine Mobile. Can we have the biodata of Baki Salihu on our screens?
Baki J. Salihu. Baki Salihu is a seasoned professional with over 18 years of substantive experience in mobile telecoms, engineering, operations, RF planning and optimization, and digital services. Baki started his career in mobile communication in 2003 with ZTE Corporation of China in the research division. He has also worked in MTN and Etisalat Nigeria and has received Nine Mobile's CEO's Award of Recognition for Exceptional Achievement in Innovation. Baki holds a bachelor's degree in electrical and computer engineering from the Federal University of Technology, Minna, as well as a postgraduate certificate in artificial intelligence and machine learning from the McComb School of Business, University of Texas. He is currently on the board of Impact Credit Guarantee Limited, a subsidiary of Development Bank of Nigeria, as independent non-executive director. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Baki J. Salihu.
Is represented today by Mr. Suleiman Umar, Director, Network Engineering of Nine Mobile. Please make your way to the podium. As we invite our panelists of the podium, may I remind you that there are booths and exhibitions out this door. You may want to take time during our break to take a look at what has been displayed by all our partners, our MSMEs, and our businesses and entrepreneurs outside the door in a short while. Help me welcome Bode Abifari, COO, Flutterwave.
Bode Abifari. Bode Abifari is Flutterwave's Chief Operating Officer and a highly accomplished C-level executive with over 2 decades of experience in fintech, payments, and management consultancy, playing a pivotal role in leading the company's operations across geographies, strategic implementation, and performance management. Her journey began at KPMG Nigeria, where she spent 15 years in senior management role, excelling in customer advisory, strategic planning, and innovation for financial institutions and international organizations in Nigeria. Bode is a renowned thought leader and sought-after speaker with many analytical publications, as well as some remarkable awards, recognitions, and publications to her name. She is deeply committed to mentoring and empowering future leaders, dedicating over a decade to coaching and mentoring through organizations like Faith Foundation and, most recently, Women in Tech Nigeria, where she is an executive advisor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bode Abifari.
Her biodata says she spent 13 years somewhere. She doesn't look a day older than 13. We're very happy to have you join us. Help me welcome Dr. Omolola Salako, founder, Sebesili Cancer Care and Onkopadi Digital Clinic.
Dr. Omolola Salako is a social entrepreneur and an experienced oncologist with a demonstrated history in the public and private healthcare industry. She is skilled in radiation oncology, chemotherapy, clinical research, strategy and operations, and cancer advocacy. Omolola is the founder of Sebekli Care Center, a not-for-profit that conducts cancer prevention programs, and Onkopadi Digital Clinic, a tech-enabled platform that connects and empowers people concerned about cancer. She is the principal investigator of the XLabs Digital Health Hub, a leadership development platform that engages the extraordinary potential of the future healthcare leaders. Public health, digital health education development, Research, project management, and career management are some of her other areas of interest and expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Omolola Salako.
Welcome, Dr. Salako. My late mother was a hospital matron. In the past, doctors didn't used to look funky. Today, look at her shoes, you know what I mean. I'm a shoe person, so it's lovely to have you join us. Wonderful to have you join us. Olumide Soyombo, co-founder Blue Chip Technologies Limited.
Olumide Soyombo. Olumide Soyombo is a tech entrepreneur, business development strategist, and angel investor. He is a co-founder at Blue Chip Technologies, where he leads strategy implementations and philanthropy into tech projects, and also the founder of Voltron Capital, a seed capital investment fund dedicated to tech startups. He holds a BSc in System Engineering from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, and an MSc in Business and IT from Aston Business School, Aston University, Birmingham, UK. He's close to 2 decades of multi-sectoral experience building and managing businesses while investing in both high-impact projects and startups, positions him as a leading voice and valuable player within the African technology and startup space. Olumide has invested in many of the leading tech startups in Nigeria, including Paystack, Piggyvest, Brass, TeamApt, Mono, Trove, Lemonade, and over 30 others. He continues to pursue excellence and strategic impact, even as he inspires the same in others. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Olumide Soyombo.
I'd like to crave the indulgence of the DBN and all our guests to give another round of applause to Dr. Soyombo. Professor Nana, if you'll give me 30 seconds, I'd like to let the DBN Managing Director and Chair know that Dr. Olufemi Oyenuga, Chief Digital Officer representing CEO of the Nigeria Stock Exchange, is here. Head of Finance and Accounts representing Registrar General, CEO Corporate Affairs Commission, is here. They are important for ease of doing business. Felix Imafidon, Special Assistant and Head of Delivery Unit to the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investments, is here. And Umar Sanda Meirami, Managing Director, Premium Pension Limited, is here, as well as the Managing Director, Urban Shelter. I'd like at this point to hand over to our very able moderator for the day, Professor Nana. Over to you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Everyone looks so lovely today, and it's a full hall. Bays, Nile, how are you guys doing today? Okay, so here are the ground rules. This is what I like to consider the meat of why we are here. The DG of NITDA gave the keynote, and he pontificated, elucidated, and he indeed is a thoroughbred. He knows his nuggets, let's put it that way, to echo our MC. But normally, what I would typically do would be to give a recapitulation of every speaker's address, goodwill messages, and so on. My chairman, Dr. Yaya, spoke. The MD CEO opening remarks welcomed us all. The Senate President's representative spoke. The SA to the President on the economy also gave a talk. But the interesting thing about this, the MC made my job a lot easier. She essentially summarized everyone's speech. So to that effect, I won't bore you too much with any further recapitulation. I will just jump right into the meat of why we're here. So, if you would permit me, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to our dynamic panelists. We have 2 women here, equally matched with 2 men. So I will just do justice. Oh, thank you for that. Gender parity, gender equality. Come on. Round of applause once again, please. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. I'm going to go with ladies first. And if you've noticed, historically, we've had like a medical doctor in our panel. I don't know if it's a coincidence or if it's providence, but I do know one thing. I'm going to ask our good doctor a few questions first. So, Dr. Salako, how has technology transformed healthcare delivery in Nigeria? You can turn it up a bit, the volume.
Hello.
There you go. I will repeat. Dr. Salako, how has technology transformed healthcare delivery in Nigeria in 3 to 5 minutes, if you don't mind?
Okay. So thank you so much for putting me up first. It'll help my nerves. So I'm Dr. Omolola Salako. I'm a lecturer at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, and I'm a cancer specialist. When we talk about healthcare, everyone here has, most likely required to go to the hospital for either a very mild ailment or a very serious condition. Now, the way healthcare has transformed, the way technology has transformed healthcare in Nigeria has been phenomenal. First of all, depending on the type of hospital you go to, you'll either find from the front desk their computers or their papers. And in a situation where a hospital is using technology to register its patient, it simply means you're going to save time at the registration stand. You're going to have accurate data. You're going to have less errors booking patients with the same names and multiple clinical data. So, medical errors abound when it is not digital. Secondly, technology has transformed healthcare in the area of making healthcare accessible. For example, at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, we have a digital health hub. We know that there are about 20 states in Nigeria that do not have oncologists. And there are about 10 states, like Lagos and Abuja, that have majority of the oncologists. So what have we done? We've asked the oncologists in cities in Lagos and Abuja to consult with patients who are in states that do not have oncologists. What that is doing is we're able to bridge the gap. We're able to save the patients traveling hours from, say, Ogun State to Lagos State. We're able to make patients more comfortable when they are, being closer to their homes rather than leaving their livelihoods, their loved ones, to camp in another state for a month or two, where they have to pay for accommodation and rack up costs of indirect cost of care. Another way is the fact that when you use technology in healthcare, you have data, real-world data that you can work with, which would improve research, which will provide clinical insights, which is something that is lacking. So when we talk about genomics globally, African data sets are missing simply because, one, a lot of African patients and hospitals are not participating in this groundbreaking research. And it's also because we don't have the digital infrastructure to participate. There are several case studies within Nigeria. For example, we have Helium Health that has democratized how we capture medical data. Till date, I know they've served more than 1 million patients just by digitizing medical records. We have startups like HealthCap Africa. They're raising funds to improve healthcare providers' facilities. So if you're a healthcare provider, you have a business, they're providing loans to, they're providing startup capital to improve healthcare providers, their services, their facilities, and so on and so forth. And I would just say it's also empowering how patients can access care. For those of us that wear smartwatches, you're able to count how many steps you're taking per day. It is recommended that an adult should take 10,000 steps. So if you are active in a day, you can measure if it's 2,000 steps or 10,000 steps. You can measure how many hours you sleep for. You can know the time in which you slept very well just by wearing your watch to bed. And by the time you put all of that data together, you know more about yourself that really is not previously available to you. And when you go to the hospital, you can take these data sets to your hospital for better care.
Thank you for your response. Just to follow up, to piggyback on what you said, what stuck out to me was you said in 20 states we lack oncologists. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how has the technology served in bridging that gap in terms of getting that consultations? For example, I met a young gentleman on a flight from Lagos to Abuja. He said he was building an AI platform that allows EKG, echocardiogram, able to read it, interpret it, and give it back to the primary care physician. Is that something that is useful from your lens?
Yes, it is. So the way our technology works, which is Oncopadi, is we have a virtual meeting room built for medical purpose, medical data collection, medical data archiving. And we have patients in Olabisi Onabanjo University Teaching Hospital. They have the surgeons, the pathologists, the radiologists, but they don't have the oncologists. And so the oncologists in Lagos or Abuja, for example, know that they will see patients in Ogun State once a week. And that way patients walk into their Ogun State hub, they queue up, and they see the oncologist virtually. And there's a collaboration between the virtual oncologist and the local surgeons.
Okay.
So there's also medical education collaboration going on to improve cancer care.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'll take a pause from the physician and jump to my good gentleman here from 9 Mobile. Suleiman, Nigeria faces persistent network security and infrastructure issues. Yes, other speakers have lamented and talked about the challenges, but what strategies can be implemented really to create a more secure and reliable digital business environment for us all here in Nigeria?
All right.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Joseph. I think the first thing first is for us to recognize that network infrastructure is a critical infrastructure. Okay, and as a nation, we need to identify this. So one of the things we'll need to do in terms of strategies is continue to invest and protect our infrastructure. Because without the infrastructure, it's going to be difficult for us to even protect our citizens. The infrastructure is actually the foundation for any technology that needs to be rolled out. In terms of national security, okay, we heard the DG of NIDA also speak about the cyber security. We're going to have to improve on securing data, implementing different measures and softwares within our platforms. It's also very important for us to know that we will need to upskill our resources. The talents we have, we need to give them the right skills so they're able to detect vulnerabilities and find solutions how to protect us. So basically, we need to focus on expanding our infrastructure within the country. We need to find a way of connecting the unconnected today. And that's part of the strategies we need to focus on. In terms of government's perspective, we also need to look at regulatory. So we need regulatory support to help manage all the challenges that are faced within the telecom industry and other industries that require infrastructure. We need partnership within government and also the private sector in terms of how to also help them in securing funding to manage and build and expand some of this infrastructure.
Would you argue that there is enough or there's a lack of funding in terms of investment capital, CapEx, going into your segment of the economy?
Today, there is still a gap
gap.
between what we need. Yes, if you look at the fiber infrastructure within the country today, we still lack sufficient. That's why we need to build a whole lot of resilience. What we have today is not currently protected. So they are prone to vandalism, road construction. You see people just destroying the infrastructure. So all these are contributing to it. So we need to build much more resilience. There is a whole funding gap today that will need the support of both the government and private sector to help invest and expand this infrastructure. Yeah.
Thank you for your response. So now I want to pivot over to Flutterwave. I know everyone here has an idea of what Flutterwave does to some level, but I would want Bode here to give us a little bit of insight to what you guys are doing currently right now and where you're projecting. Keeping that in mind, tie it to the fact that the internet penetration in Nigeria is 55% or so. I think my MD mentioned that in his speech. How can Nigerian MSMEs leverage existing technologies to improve its ease of doing business, considering, of course, the current state of the penetration rate?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll just start with Flutterwave and what we do. So Flutterwave is a payment infrastructure company. We help businesses pay and get paid. And with when you look at how startups start or innovation starts, right? There's this saying, there's a quote I say a lot, that it starts with the customer pain point and work backwards. So the pain points here was that if you look at Africa, right, payments is fragmented. What I mean is there are different forms of payments. There's cash, there's card, there's M-Pesa, depending on the region you go. Some countries are almost like 7% mobile money. So the problem is, if you go to developed countries, right, if you use your card, you can swipe your card, everything just works. So what Flutterwave took upon itself was to build an infrastructure, meaning that you as a business, once you digitize and come online, it doesn't matter what form of payment you have. We help you to collect payments in any form that your customers bring to you, and then settle you depending on what the SLAs are, T+1, T+5. Now what that means for you as a merchant, or what used to previously happen is, once you go online, right, you have access. So if you're selling a bag, if you have a company or whatever you're selling, goods and services, you have to worry about, your customers are now everywhere once you're online. So if you're in Tanzania, if you're in Rwanda, if you're in Lagos, if you're in Accra, wherever you are, right? Once customers can see your goods, they want to purchase your goods, and then you can worry about how you delivery and all of that. So what we're saying is that as a merchant, focus on your core of thinking about how you're innovating, expanding your outlet, how you're innovating on what you have, and let us worry about everything that has to do with that payment. So that was a pain point, and that is what we set out to solve. Now to your question, right? The DG already spoke about, I think 2 of the speakers spoke earlier about SMEs. I wanted to just provide a bit of color, right? So if you look at Faith Foundation, right, they do this yearly publication. They spoke to over 10,000 SMEs across Nigeria. And what you find is that we have the nanos. The nanos are, self-employed businesses, about 2 people. You have the micros, between 3 to 9 employees. And then you have the SMEs, anything, between 9 to 25 employees and above, the more established ones. Now, if you look at the data that they have, right, 70% of these businesses are within the nano and the micro SMEs. So it's very important that when we're thinking about strategies and things around internet penetration, the cost of data, cost of infrastructure, and more importantly and recently in their report, energy has also become very important, because if you don't have lights, right, that's also adding to the cost. So as you look at the different businesses, it's important we're able to segment what is nano, micro, and SMEs, even in the way we're thinking about the strategies, because their businesses are different, their operations are different. So if you're thinking, I have like internet dongle, right, and I can, provide internet services for these businesses, maybe what the nano needs is just like a WhatsApp, something that is USSD powered. So you're speaking to their needs and affordability and the usability of whatever we're providing. The DG also mentioned what the Minister for Innovation, Communication, and Digital Economy also said. One of the key pillars is policy on broadband. So he's saying that if I'm selling something in a kiosk as a nano, there should be availability of internet, right? If I'm a small agric farmer, how can information be put on WhatsApp for me to see the quality of soil, when it's best for me to buy, where I can buy seeds from. So these are some of the things that are very important. And the way we also look at the strategies, right, for this penetration for them is also, as you look at it in terms of data, is also very specific to the type of businesses that they do. So what an agri person will need in terms of consumption of internet and availability may be different from somebody that is in art or somebody that is in retail. And just, as an example, right, during COVID, for instance, we, on our own platform, we saw a lot of business because everybody was still moving around, right? If you were providing a service, it's just that, the bigger companies like the Ebanos or those people that were online, people were buying. Now for the small businesses, right, what we did was we now provided a platform that in 5 minutes you can set up your business immediately. And people were at home, so we're seeing a lot of uptake in terms of people that had moms that were selling maybe fabric in Lagos market, right? Helping them to put those businesses online, helping them to sell, using the internet, using innovation that we have. And we saw people selling from between 100 to 1,000 to 1,005, not just in Lagos, across the UK, and all they had to worry about is the logistics of how they get all of that to them. So coming back to your question, just to round up, is to say, the strategies would depend on the sector and the type of SMEs we're talking about. The government is doing its part, private sector is doing its part, but those strategies have to be very specific in terms of how we deliver it.
Well, thank you for elaborate and colorful response. That was quite helpful, and I'm sure we all appreciated what you said. I want to pivot over to Olumide over here. You're the co-founder of Blue Chips, and it's a technology company. And if you don't mind, I want you to kind of give us a broad overview of your overall strategy and what you do as far as driving technology and growing your business. Once you do that, I want you to consider this question: how can we encourage innovation and entrepreneurship in the technology sector to drive economic growth and ultimately to improve the ease of doing business in Nigeria?
Thank you. So I wear two hats. I'm a founder and a funder.
Oh, wow.
In the sense that I started out a company 15 years ago called Blue Chip Technologies, and grew that company to this point where in 2014 I could take some profit out to start backing other founders. So in 2014 we took about $500,000 and started backing some of the very interesting companies.
Olumide, I'm sorry, pause there. Round of applause, people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fantastic individual. Truly. Please, I had to pause. I apologize. Go ahead.
Okay. And this was 2014. We saw, with the deepening internet penetration, the formation of innovation clusters in Yaba, and we started saying, what could happen? I'm a big fan, and I study markets a lot. I studied things that happened in Latin America, things that happened in India, and you can draw a line from their growth story and where they were 6-7 years ago to where we are today. And I saw an opportunity to start backing interesting entrepreneurs. And so I ended up backing the likes of Piggyvest, Paystack, MoneyPoint, Brass.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, See, I'm happy I asked this question because I had no idea. I really didn't have an idea of what you guys have done and what you do on a personal capacity. So please.
Yeah, and then with some early success that we had, we saw there was an opportunity to catalyze more funding to this startup. So we created a fund called Voltron Capital, now backing more entrepreneurs. I think to date, we've backed about 103 companies in Africa.
Stop the press, people. Stop the press. Hold on. Students, entrepreneurs, dare I say, meet this gentleman before he leaves here today. You will gain a lot of inspiration, and perhaps, maybe if you can sell an idea or two, he may back you as well.
Sure. I'm constantly looking for ideas to back. But when bringing it down to the opportunity, right, I didn't set up a fund to back companies because I like people's faces, right? Yeah, the investor is looking out for a return and is looking out for impact. And if you look at the impact, some of the companies we've gone ahead to back, the companies in spaces like where Flutterwave is playing, where Paystack is playing, it's very, very easy for people to forget that 6, 7 years ago, if you were going to set up a website, you would need to pay 150,000 naira to a company, and you need to wait 2-3 weeks and work with their engineers over the weekend to set up an online store. Today, with platforms like Paystack and Flutterwave, you can do copy a few lines of code, and that's possible.
Wow.
And you can have your site ready and you can start selling. Someone who started writing code when he was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, would never even imagine that people had to go through such things to happen. So coming down to your question about innovation and how it drives
Entrepreneurship.
Innovation and entrepreneurship and how it drives economic growth. I think, I believe that, and you would see that even happening in other markets, entrepreneurs are the key drivers and SMEs are the key drivers of every economy. If you think about the value that has been created when new companies are born, it's astronomical. Think about new roles and new jobs that have been created. If you think about when telecommunications came into Nigeria, there were new roles that were created. Billing experts were created, customer CRM experts were created, network engineers were created. Roles that didn't necessarily have as a category were then created. If you even think about e-commerce in Nigeria, with the likes of Kongas and Wakanows coming into the country, people started learning new jobs, digital marketing, product marketers. These roles never existed before, and those people get jobs, they earn, and contribute their own quota to economic growth. So I think that if you want to see the biggest growth, I like that the DG spoke about Prosperity Paradox. It's one of my favorite books because it talks about non-consumption and how we can use innovation to push new growth areas, making things cheaper, such that people who are not included in our economy then get included. If you look at companies like we've backed, like MoneyPoint, and what they are doing with thousands of agents and creating jobs for mom and pop shops across the country and nano SMEs across the country, just by the regulatory environment allowing those things to exist. So regulation obviously then plays a key role. And bringing it down to ease of doing business, right? Technology helps us create that ease of doing business, like registering your companies online and so on. But interestingly, the ease of doing business also allows technology companies to exist, right? So it's a vicious cycle. Where we then need to get to is an area where, and I like that the Minister, Dr. Bosun Tijani, outlined the strategic blueprint around setting key pillars. How do we build that knowledge economy? I tell this story of how I went to a restaurant in Lagos as I round up, and I met this waiter. His name is Daniel. Daniel spoke with such a clear diction, and I had to ask him, where did you go to school? And he said he went to Yaba Technology and he studied civil engineering. And I asked him if he had used the computer before, and he said no, apart from the computer I used in the store to take restaurant orders. And I asked him if he liked math, and he said math was one of his favorite subjects. I sit on as part of the advisors to a company called Semicolon Africa that teaches developers how to code. They give you a laptop and give you a meal a day, and you learn how to be a programmer in 1 year. Daniel was earning about 45,000 naira at the time. I paid for him to go and do the course. It was going to cost about 3 million naira. I paid for him to do that course in 1 year. This was in 2021. Today, Daniel has graduated from that course, and he's now working in a Y Combinator-backed company called Money Africa, and he has 10 times his earnings. So when you see, so from a waiter earning 45K to over, 12 times his earnings in a space of 18 to 24 months, it tells you what is possible on how we can get 1 million Daniels. I think with the new program the DG and the minister are running, we want to get 3 million tech talents, so 3 million Daniels. What does that do for us? And it's the power of what technology can do, and that's what I'm excited about. Thank you.
That's a fantastic response, sir. Fantastic. I think it's safe to say Olumide here is an entrepreneur par excellence. He is doing so many things in so many different ways. So I would encourage entrepreneurs in the room, business leaders, Students, reach out to this gentleman. He's a smart guy. Just by listening to him, he's enthusiastic and he's passionate about impact and, of course, financial returns.
Sure.
Okay, so next oh, by the way, while you were speaking, the term creative destruction came to mind. Technology does that, but in my humble opinion, that's a good thing because in the end, we need to continue to disrupt ourselves to progress the economy and the country we operate in. So I'm going to go back to the good doctor to my left here. Doc, I feel like we're friends now, so, you know.
Okay.
What challenges do the healthcare businesses face when integrating technology into their operations in the country? And how can these be actually overcome? Over to you.
Okay, so forgive me, I'm going to say that the challenges are like OPP, OPOPA, if you understand this. Like, I think the first thing is to recognize that Nigeria is filled with multi-talented people. And when we speak of the healthcare space, I'm relating to the healthcare workers. You may all know that there's a medical exodus going on currently. And what we are not seeing well enough is how it's impacting healthcare and how there are severe gaps in delivering quality healthcare to Nigerian populace. We are not able to document the impact also on the education sector and how quickly our graduates are leaving the minute they get a degree. Permit me, sir, DG. The DG reminds me of many medical healthcare workers, completely brilliant, will absolutely thrive in any country, highly looked out, sourced for. And we have brilliant people like the DG in many medical institutions who have ideas, who are innovating, but because of the lure of the developed countries and the greener pastures, those ideas are not born. They never materialize. And even when they go abroad to innovate solutions, sometimes they are not useful to us here in Nigeria. Secondly, when these solutions are even available to our populace, it's very, very expensive. So we are not utilizing our brain power within the academic medical institutions. One of the ways we can solve that is immediately, we need hubs, medical entrepreneurship hubs in our academic medical institutions. I want to say that there's a beautiful NITDA hub in the University of Lagos, one of the most beautiful hubs I have seen. And it's comparable to hubs, you know, in the Silicon Valley. But sir, I would like to ask for a hub in the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, where the doctors, the nurses, the pharmacists, and the likes can come together with the computer scientists, with the entrepreneurs, to come up with solutions that can scale. I've innovated 4 products, 2 of them have failed, 2 of them are, you know, they're finding their way. But I know that for these 2 solutions to scale, I need the ideas of my colleagues in engineering and so on and so forth. And because it's a new ecosystem, it's important that the medical institutions are at par with other departments. Another challenge we are facing is adoption. Innovators need further support when they have created, the DG also spoke about, creating and inventing is very expensive, which is what solution providers do. We spend a lot of money creating these products, researching, but when it's time to make money, we are unable to make it because we don't understand the processes for commercialization. We don't understand IP. We don't understand how to negotiate or even protect our data. And so it's important that when we have unique medical hubs that are laced with entrepreneurship, then Students being trained from year one already understand accounting, understand the business metrics, understand that as they are developing this product, it doesn't have to be perfect. Take it to market, learn from it, and then you can reiterate. And also get some industry support to sort of cushion the impact and the cost of creating the solutions. So 2 challenges will be, our brain power are not innovating or launching their ideas because the environment is not as enabling. And the second one would, just be around receiving immense support and, just creating this medical entrepreneurship hubs where if a doctor graduates, they have an additional option to their career of working in the hospital, traveling abroad, or going in as a medical entrepreneur, like what you mentioned, semicolon, a 1-year fellowship, and then they become this coders that can. So we need doctors who understand clinical medicine, understand a bit of financing, and they put all of that knowledge to creating products that would serve millions of Nigerians when they require such services.
Thank you for your response. I think it was succinct and quite comprehensive. But to piggyback on what you said, I think maybe perhaps we need to find products from financial institutions that can feed into the creation of hubs, which feeds the so-called mechanisms for startups and so on. Because I know that in hubs, that is literally the brainchild. That's the engine room for entrepreneurial spirit, for the drive for growing businesses to scale. So I think financing is a key component when putting the hubs together. And I think Olumide elucidated on that early in his response. But same question over to you, buddy, to my right. Suleiman, I know I'm focusing on the women right now. Just bear with me. So same question, but it's channeled towards the MSMEs. So this time around, kind of customize your response, catering to the nano, micro, small, and medium enterprise businesses in the country. So what do you think the major challenges faced by MSMEs in Nigeria are, and how can technology and digitization actually help to overcome these challenges?
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'll start with, I think what a lot of us have talked about today, so funding. But the way technology has helped funding, if I use the initial example that I had of somebody that, an MSME, I would even call her a nano SME, right? She's selling in a Lagos market, right? She comes online, she does the online store, she's able to connect the store in 5 minutes, and then she has access to the market already. Part of what we're also doing was, how do you even take the pictures? So it's online, people start to buy. So when people start to buy, for instance, and she's able to sell 10, 15, 20, 100, then she will need to buy more materials, right? So for our own company, like a payments company like ourselves, if we're saying that, every day she has maybe 500,000 coming in, right? Over the weekend, she needs to make sure maybe more people are buying over the weekend. Most times we're able to say, let's give this person, some working capital over the weekend, right? Let her use the working capital over the weekend and on Monday, because we know and we've seen she's demonstrated over a couple of times that this is possible, and that leads to business expansion. Now, what has also happened is some banks and some private companies are also helping with this funding. But if you look at a lot of the SMEs, if I go back to the data I said, about 53% of them have said that they are not even registered because they don't have the CAC, all those things are very cumbersome for them. So how do we ensure that on a state level, right, how do we make these things easier for them? How do state governments, working with everything that is already set up with the ministries, PEBEC, and pull this data together so we know that these are the businesses we need to support. How do we make it easier for them to register? How do we make these things less cumbersome for them? That's one area. So funding is very important. So a lot of them get from family or friends, but how do we, using technology and this access, make them do more, right? And I think based on what just has happened over the fuel reforms, transportation costs, how do we also, as government, start thinking of business support and palliatives. But the only way you can do that is using the data that you have and connecting to how you can support the businesses across sectors. Another thing is also the innovation that comes with it. Using data as well, from the Faith Foundation report, we saw that almost 60% of the new businesses in the last year were youth, in the youth segment. So things around, so if you ask them, when we ask them that, what are the issues that you have? So things around marketing, but they're using technology. You know, we talked about social media. So now you see a lot of storytelling on the products, people saying this is how it's working. And then that also opens up, you know, markets and all of that. Things around, so with the store, right? If you're selling with the store, things that come with it, like your invoicing. You know, we said if you use technology, nobody can cheat you, so you can see your sales, inventory management. But things around even capacity building, you see that it's a lot of the churches, it's a lot of government, it's a lot of banks that do the capacity building. So they also want capacity building. That's also one major issue, because the more you go and the more depth, Olumide was talking about LATAM, because there's no business you're doing that hasn't been done elsewhere before. So how do you expand that knowledge? So if you look at a lot of the hubs like Techstars, right? When they for startups, when they fund them, they put them in a program for a couple, and it's not just it's everywhere around the world, where they're telling them, this is how you go to market, this is how you make money, this is how your finance should be, this is how, just ensuring that they have those mentors and they have those mental models and the real life experience and transfer of knowledge on how they can, you know, continue to get better. So in summary, funding, innovation, access to their business inventory, you know, all of those things, right? How do we pull all of these things together on a larger scale, so it's not just ports and hubs, and more people have, you know, access to all of this?
Thank you so much for your response, Buddy. Thank you. So while you were speaking, you mentioned something about entrepreneurs and nano businesses struggling to register their business. I think it's not, I wouldn't say it's fair to say this, because Corporate Affairs Commission has done a lot of work in trying to ensure it's seamless to register your business. If you go online, I'm told that it takes you 24 to 48 hours to register your business, provided there aren't similarities in business names and so on. So it's become more easier through technology, of course. So if you're a budding entrepreneur, your business isn't registered, please try it out and give them some feedback if it's straightforward or if it's a bit cumbersome. That way they can continue to improve, because that feedback mechanism is very important.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say,
sure.
It's not like they know the process, but things around taxation, right? They run away from some of those upfront things that make, you know, business more difficult.
Okay.
So if you ask them, they'll be like, oh, I'm registered with NLC, I'm registered with SMIDAN,
Okay.
I'm registered, so
We're not
until
being
they,
registered.
you know,
Okay.
achieve a skill.
Okay, thank you for the response. My next question, and I would be remiss if I don't go to the bottom of the pyramid, which is essentially the rural and underserved communities in Nigeria. So how can we make technology-driven business solutions affordable and, of course, accessible to businesses in these regions? Over to you, Suleiman.
All right. So if we look at the small businesses as a whole, MSMEs, okay, and we look at their characteristics between those that are within the urban areas and the rural, there's a stark difference. Okay, one of the ways we can help to transform businesses within the rural areas is, first of all, to get them connected, because technology cannot function without connectivity. Okay, so you first of all need to get them connected. And that's why government on its part has also introduced policies to see how we can get those rural people connected. That means extending connectivity to the underserved and unserved area. That's one. Secondly, we need to start developing solutions, customized solutions that will suit those peculiarities. We might not take the same solution and apply it to those in the rural areas. We need to find something that works for them within their own environment. Thirdly, we need to educate. I think that's one of the most important things. You can have the tools, you can have the technology, but people need to understand how to use it and what value is going to bring to them. So if you look at a local setting today, The same kind of problems you have with small businesses in the urban is still going to apply to them. Challenges to access to funding. What are we doing in technology? Okay, we have technology, we have solutions in place now that is able to offer small credits, short-term credits to farmers, to all those smaller businesses that can be payback. Those are some of the things. Access to market. They will also have access to market when they are connected. The marketplace is there, selling on the social media, it's all part of it. They are now able to also incorporate e-commerce to get their businesses going. But if they don't have the foundational knowledge about all this, it's going to be quite challenging for them. So I think one of the key things that needs to be first done is let's get our people connected, let's educate them, then let's teach them how to use some of these things. Generally speaking, you also need to look at how this business will also optimize their operations. Most businesses today, they don't have any proper bookkeeping, but we have free and very cheap applications available that businesses can adopt to manage bookkeeping, for managing their inventories and all.
Thank you for the brilliant response, sir. Yeah. My gut tells me that Illumidate to my left here wants to add something to that. I don't know.
Add to what?
So we're talking about the rural and underserved communities, how technology-driven business solutions can be affordable and, of course, accessible.
Okay. I think he hit the nail on the head by talking about connectivity. But I'm also very, very careful that we shouldn't solve, we don't go take solutions looking for, and then start looking for the problems, right? People talk about financial inclusion. Is it not somebody that has finance that would be first included, right? So sometimes we take the solutions and start looking for the problems when we are supposed to be talking about the empowerments of those people. Where's the money that I have that you're asking me to be included firstly? So we need to take the first things first, which is, and I think the previous speaker was spot on around the knowledge and building knowledge on what they can do. And yes, we can implement solutions that then make people that could not consume things before now able to consume them by making it cheaper and accessible to them. And I think that's what technology helps us achieve. But like I said, we need to then think about the problems by taking the first things first approach, by looking at what are those key needs in those rural areas. What are they trying to achieve? That opposed to taking solutions that we feel that has already worked in these urban areas and throwing it there.
That's very fair. That's a fair response. I have one more question before I throw it open. We're short of time, so I will give an opportunity for the audience members here to have maybe 5 questions maximum. So 5 people. Please, ushers, please pass the microphones to the first 5 hands that go up. Nothing more, nothing less. The final question is to each member of the panel here, in a minute or less, if you can please just tell us the role the government can play in supporting the integration of technology into businesses, particularly for MSMEs. The role. I'll open it to ladies first. My good doctor, why don't you take a stab at the question?
Okay. The role the government can play in integrating technology into healthcare businesses is, first of all, to support homegrown innovators. These wonderful initiatives by by the Minister of ICT and the digital economy, it's important to look out for the medical community and ensure that there's diversity in the 3MTT, and to ensure that when these talents are created and are produced, they are nicely mixed in the medical sector, so that we are solving, we're sort of solving the SDG 3 and ensuring that many Nigerians have access to good health. Second thing will be around supporting the research ecosystem, because again, there's a paucity of data. We don't know certain diseases. The reason why certain diseases are, becoming commoner, or why the biology of cancers are very aggressive. So we need funding and revitalization of our research system so that we understand what is going on and can create more solutions to solving the problem.
Thank you for that. Olumide, over to you.
For me, I think it starts with policy and policy direction and how that serves the general entrepreneurial ecosystem. Speaking about the innovation ecosystem, that's up my alley. We've seen, and it's a shame DJ is left now, but we've seen the Nigerian Startup Act passed. It's one thing to pass, it's another thing to implement. But then it was a beautiful crafted act that worked with the ecosystem, private and government, sitting down to say, let us chart a way forward to how we want to build out this ecosystem. So it speaks to funding. How do we fund hubs? How do we fund young entrepreneurs building? It speaks to regulation. There are many companies, and obviously innovation would always go ahead of regulation. There are many companies that have been overregulated or died because regulators don't also understand what they are building. And once the regulator doesn't understand what they are building, they shut it down. So that collaboration between a council that sits with both public sector individuals and private sector builders to say, this is what I'm building, or this is where you need to protect, because regulators are trying to protect the downside. These are what things you need to do. So policy, and we have some of those things, right? And I think in our market, especially here, coming up with the right policies is never the issue, right?
So implementation.
Is the implementation, and we are starting to see that implementation come into play with this administration. So I think it's to focus more on those key things. We know the frameworks we need to put in place. We have the National Broadband Plan, we have National AI Strategy, we have the National Blockchain Policy. The strategic blueprint from the minister outlines the key pillars that we need to build this ecosystem. So I think now it's time to do the work and let the rubber hit the road.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, buddy.
Yeah, I'll just add that for me, I think it's also the ease of doing business, right? As we think about the nano, micro, and the SMEs, and if you look at, everybody thinks Lagos is the hub center, but when it comes to innovation and people actually doing things around manufacturing, even though they are nano and small, they are spread across Nigeria. So it's also saying, as I have an outlet in Kaduna, Kano, Jigawa, anywhere, right, in Nigeria, how are we pulling together everything? CAC is just the start of it, but there are other things like taxation and all. How do we make ease of doing business better? Not just a one-size-fits-all, but can we enable it as a package? And then the alignments of all the parastatals and the arms that are doing a lot of things, how does everything get connected so that the learnings we've taken from the startup, for instance, we can also take it to everybody doing things, right? Because if you look at it, arts, manufacturing, retail, food, just looking at the data, we set up a store in 6 months, 40,000 SMEs were transacting. So people are ready. The innovation is astounding, and the way people think and what they want to do. So that ease of business, if everything comes together, will also make this thing really grow, and we can achieve the objective.
Thank you for your brilliant response. Final thoughts, last but certainly not the least, Suleiman.
Okay, to round it up, I think government, first of all, we need to focus on providing the relevant infrastructure on top of which every other thing we run. All the data insights we want to see need to ride on this. Electricity is key. My innovator doesn't have to be thinking of how he's going to look for power, think of diesel. If the basic infrastructure is there, you're going to see the productivity level is going to increase. Within the next few years, the future of digital service is going to be transformational. We're going to see a whole lot of things happening. We'll probably see everything as a service coming up. We're going to see the blowout of artificial intelligence, whereby you find AI actually doing half of the diagnostic work for you, for doctors. Okay, so if you're not going to put in place the right infrastructure, it's going to be a big challenge. Government also needs to start thinking about e-governance. Having an e-governance platform is actually going to be able to unify and streamline all these issues around multiple taxation, all these illegal levies that are being taken within the market. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the brilliant response. So now I'll throw it open. Ushers, we have 5 participants who would like to ask questions. Please keep the questions brief. My apologies. Please keep the question as short as possible, and our panelists here will do justice in their response. Over to you, sir.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Nura Bello, the Zonal Vice President, Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. Since morning we have been seated, you are here to speak to us. From morning up to now, and you are telling me that I should speak to you maybe in 1 minute.
Okay, it's just a question.
It's actually, okay. Yes, don't worry. It's actually a question I want to ask, but I need to make a comment because you have sat down, you have spoken since morning up to this level, thinking for us. You are not seeking for our own feedback to tell us, to tell you how you are going to serve us. Do you understand? If you look at maybe the panelists, maybe FlutterWave, you are 3 billion. This man, he has packed more than 100 companies, Airtel, and this lady. Look, is there any one of you on the panelists that is an SME? The answer is no.
What's an SME?
Exactly. Well, so therefore, I just ask.
Please,
no.
Sir.
Yes.
Your question.
I want to ask a question. Now, I want to know, is there a way, FlutterWave, we can collaborate with SMEs in Nigeria to see how we can get more SMEs on your platform? What can we do under the umbrella of MSMEs or NASME? And as for you, Mr. Olumide, we have a lot of SMEs that are looking for access to finance. Is there a way maybe you can invest in some of our SMEs in exchange for equity? The way you have been packing, maybe we can organize a program so that you can pack as many SMEs as possible.
Okay, thank you for your question.
Okay, yeah, just last one. I just want to say this. I think this is a feedback for Development Bank of Nigeria. You see, there are new fintechs that you can apply for loan online. You can get it almost immediately. I don't know why in conventional banks that we cannot get a loan that you spend up to a month or 2 months or 3 months. It has to be approved through the head office. The DG of NIDA has spoken, and I hope you are going to take this feedback. The biggest problem is the channel through which you give these loans, that's the commercial banks. And they are our biggest stumbling block. They will ask us to bring collaterals that we don't have. So please.
Thank you for your question. I appreciate that. So, why don't you quickly respond, FlutterWave, buddy, and Olumide, if you don't mind, if you want to make a comment or a response to that, feel free to. Please, in a minute or less.
Yeah, so we're very happy to work with you, sir. Today, right, I think every year we do like an SME fair where we, some of the SMEs on our platforms, we give them a platform to sell. Even night markets that we were used to in the old days, everything has now gone online, right? Where people are selling and their dedicated times. There are all sorts of strategies, and we're happy to have a conversation with you.
Okay, thank you for that. Olumide.
Yeah, I think it's similar openness to that collaboration. The difference with investing in this side is obviously like I always say, an investor doesn't invest because I like you. I like the blue agbada that you're wearing. I'm investing because there's a possibility of a return, but there's also an acknowledgement that I can lose it all, and that's the spirit of investing. So I'm going to ask key questions to those SMEs that are within your association. Who's the founder? Who's the team? What have they done before? What's their domain expertise? What product are they building? What's the size of the market? If they can answer those questions and they can show a path to return, I'm always keen to invest.
Thank you for that. And for the record, big businesses start small. So the truth of the matter is this: at some point in time, everyone here was a micro or small or medium enterprise. By God's grace and with a lot of grit, they were able to scale. So, sir, to respond to you, all businesses start small, so don't say there aren't any small businesses here. Okay. Next question.
Good afternoon.
And please, for the record, no more comments, just a question.
Yeah, just a question, I'll try. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Jesse Benedict. I'm a medical doctor, and at the same time, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the co-founder of TraderPay. So this question goes to Mr. Olumide. All right, sorry, let me just say something briefly. I can remember back then in 2020 when I started Oyana. It failed because I couldn't access funds and all that. They said, okay, we were pre-seed and they couldn't assist us and all like that. So, sorry. Then in 2021, when I got a job, like a role with Google, so I had to still co-found TraderPay. So we raised $500K pre-seed. And as at then, dollars was actually 500 naira. So probably we had 250 million in pre-seed. So currently now, you see that dollar has actually increased, it has inflated. And it means that even without us doing any business, we are already owing our investors another 250 million naira. And that's actually bad for us as far as business is concerned. So what I'm just trying to say is, I wish you people could actually look forward to investing more on ideas. Just go beyond like the seed businesses, or more like go beyond seed funding and look forward to investing more on ideas. Because currently when you look at it, even the DBN, you see, people talk about loans like that. And we entrepreneurs, whenever we have loans, we run away. So I wish there could be like other means like equity, giving SMEs, or more like, okay, even if it's 5% equity, you know, as time progresses like that. So it will be easier for us to access these funds. Because when you put in loans, sincerely speaking, people just run away. And the platforms to which we tend to get these things. All right, the last question goes to my chief.
I'm sorry, I haven't gotten a question yet.
Okay, the question is this. I asked Dr. Olumide if he could actually look beyond just, like I said, the seed funding, and for them to go to ideas.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Olumide, please respond to the question. To who? The doctor? Okay. Oh, you have two questions.
Yeah. I'm a medical doctor. I've practiced in Nigeria. Now, this is it. We have shortages of doctors in Nigeria currently. And when you look at it, the primary healthcare is very, is nothing to write home about. And we all talk about all the time telemedicine. Now, when you bring up these health techs, I think it will be a very big gap from, let's say, the technology and the talent, like we the doctors now. If we don't have like these packages in place, it will be very difficult for us to even like handle these telemedicine platforms and all like that. So the question goes to you now: how do we now balance like this whole thing that I'm talking about, the technology and the shortage in personnel we have in Nigeria? Because currently, like I said, there is no backup at all.
Thank you for your question, sir. Okay, the next question should go to a woman, please. And it should be a question, not a preamble or a commentary. In the meantime, would you mind responding to the question?
Yeah, sure. I think you spoke about investing in ideas. if you look at the investor landscape, there's a role for different players and different types of investors at each stage or journey of a company's formation, right? So there are funds that will focus on growth stage, there are funds that will focus on late stage, there are funds that will focus on that pre-seed and seed stage, and then there are early investors that might look at ideas. We talked about hubs earlier. The truth is, not many investors are going to invest in just an idea. If it was investing in just an idea, right, I'm sure everybody has one idea that everybody could pitch to. So you as an entrepreneur, what have you done about that idea that you have? You can't tell someone to take a risk on you when you have not taken a risk on yourself. So the first things first is to build out your idea to a position where you've shown some traction and that you have shown where it's going and you have shown some sweat that you have put in there. And then early pre-seed. Now we have pre-seed funding companies that can then back what you're building. So it first starts with you.
Thank you, Olumide. Dr. Salako, you want to respond to the question?
So his question was, in view of the shortage of healthcare professionals, how can we use telemedicine to bridge the gap? And I'll use oncology again as a case study. There are 90 clinical oncologists in the country in about 20 states. The rest of the country is not covered. My personal belief is that one oncologist should not serve one hospital. One oncologist should serve 2 to 3 states. If there is a way that the government sits with the clinical oncologists, the association, and we say, you, though you are working in Lagos State, you are digitally attached to 5 government hospitals outside of Lagos State. And that means you will provide 3 to 4 hours of your time in Bauchi, in Maiduguri, and so on and so forth, so that we can collect the hours, not just treating and caring for cancer patients where we are being paid, but beyond the states. That's the lowest hanging fruit we have, because it takes about 15 years to train a specialist. So it's factorial. There are many issues, but again, telemedicine remains one of the quick wins in providing care where there are no doctors.
Thank you so much for your response. And the final question, I promised 5, but because, some folks have taken up too much time, let's have one last question from a woman, please.
I will have someone here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mfreka Sibe. I'm a public health specialist. My question goes to Dr. Omolola. How do you ensure transparency in cancer diagnosis? Because recently I saw a video of a doctor in Europe that has been giving wrong diagnosis to his client. He has been making money from it and traumatizing his client. So how do you ensure transparency in diagnosis using technology so that you don't traumatize the citizens of Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you for your brilliant question. Ladies and gentlemen, the previous participants who asked questions, who gave a preamble, she gave a straightforward question. We have to be disciplined enough to just give a question, sit down, and listen to the response. Thank you very much. Over to you, Doc.
I'm really excited that we have, diversity in the room. I'm surprised that my colleagues are here, and I would just like to say a big shout out to you. Thank you for showing up in a place that it seems like we don't belong. That's the truth. As I walked in here, at least 2 people asked me, like, oh, yeah, doctor, what are you doing here? And I'm like, Egbamiu, they invited me. So that doctor has a bad character. And as you know, there are good and bad eggs. We have, ethics that guide our profession. A woman presents with a lump. We're thinking it may be cancerous, it may not be cancerous. There are certain tests we have to do to confirm what it is. Once we confirm what it is, we refer to the right specialist. So in terms of transparency, I believe we are guided by our code of conduct. And should you find a healthcare professional that falls off, we have regulators, the MDCN, that you can report. We have patients who are suing Nigerian doctors for negligence. So I believe what we have, of course, our healthcare system is burdened, it can be better. But I want to vouch for most of my colleagues that we stick to the rules, we do what is right, we ensure we perform our clinical duties with empathy and compassion, understanding that the patient is suffering and we are there to help them and serve them. For doctors that have misbehaved, we have to deal with them and sort of, publicize it so that people are not scared to talk, to report when they are not satisfied with a particular doctor. Recently, 1 or 2 doctors have been jailed for bad medical practices. So we are getting better by taking care of the bad eggs. And for those that are practicing transparently, we need to celebrate them, not when they die, when they are alive.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our Q&A section and the panel conversation. Thank you for being attentive and thank you for participating.
A photograph for our excellent panelists and our moderator, host for the most, Professor Nana. A round of applause for them, please. Of course, there are bad eggs in every profession. So you have doctors harvesting people's kidneys. You have media persons scamming other people. You have entrepreneurs pretending to be entrepreneurs. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So we just need to keep our ears and our eyes open, and DBN will provide us with sustainable growth. Thank you, congratulations. Well done. There's entrepreneurship in every business, and the medical profession is part of it. You heard the good doctor. And also we're hoping that Dr. Shoyombo is not mobbed at the door as a funder and a founder, and the man who gives out some money to support entrepreneurs. All of us are looking forward to having a conversation with him. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to quickly just give you an update. We have Ahmed Abdullahi, Deputy Director representing the DG National Identity Management Commission. You heard earlier, thank you very much, that the NIN is important for ensuring that your identity is well tracked, and very soon we would not have to be giving everybody our identity. It will be exchanged by various institutions that require it. We have Aziz Bolanle Kafilat, Assistant Director of Tax, representing Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service. You're not clapping. These people are very important stakeholders and partners to DBN, and they have made their way into the hall on a busy day like this, and the hall still remains very full. That is to show that the chairman and the managing director and board of directors and management and staff of DBN have worked extremely hard to bring their friends and partners into the room. Let's give a round of applause to DBN for this exciting afternoon that we are having. I'd like to greet and welcome Mr. Kari Abba, who is co-founder of Trans-Sahara Investment Corporation. Would like to welcome you. And would like to thank the ED Mofi, who is still here with us. It's good to see that you are still with us. The Managing Director, CEO, Urban Shelter, Sadia Aliyu Aminu. Where is she? She was in the room a while ago, and she's one of the very few managing directors in the property business. You heard me say I want to go into Airbnb, so very few females are in that place, so I want to join her to see if there is something we can do together. You know? I mean, if you have a background in interior decoration, if you have Airbnb, your Airbnb will be beautiful, wouldn't it? And people will not want to go. So you have to add value to everything you do, and I'm sure the DBN MD is very pleased to hear that. So, this is what we do at the DBN Annual Lecture Series, which makes it possible for us to learn, and to relearn. And I would like to call out the moderator and panelists at this time to please step forward. If you're still in the room, moderator, panelists, Professor Nana, Shoyombo, everybody who was in that panel should please step forward onto the stage. The managing director and Mr. Chair will join them for a group photograph that we would keep in our archives, because it's critical that we have this picture. These are the people that made it happen, along with the keynote speaker that made this event quite successful. We have read so much about Flutterwave that now just meeting the COO is exciting. You know, Flutterwave has been in our mindsets for a while and doing great things on behalf of Nigeria around the world. This is the photograph that goes into our archive that represents this particular annual DBN Lecture Series 2023. Okay, so that's just a good photograph. Do you want me to join them? Yes. Thank you. So, if you notice, the door at the back has been shut. And that is not because we want to trap you in the room. That is because we want you to go through the booths and to the refreshment this way. And so everybody will exit this way. And we would allow the first 2 to 3 rows to go first, and then the rest of us will follow. This is where the tea break is and everything. But we're not leaving yet. Please be seated. We're going to take the vote of thanks now, and it's from a very important personality who will greet you and thank you. So please be seated. Don't go out yet. Please be seated. Thank you very much. We need to bring this properly to a close and take the national anthem. We saluted the Nigerian nation at the beginning. We salute her again as we close. And that is the protocol and how important it is. I'd like to introduce a gentleman who is an independent, non-executive director of the bank. Malam Kyari Abubakar is a co-founder of Trans-Sahara Investment Corporation, a private equity firm based in Lagos, Nigeria. He was MD CEO of Central Securities Clearing System, and he was instrumental in introducing Visa cards to the Nigerian payment ecosystem. He has been with Fidelity Bank, FSB International Bank, and prior to his return to Nigeria in 2001, he worked at Hewlett-Packard Company in Silicon Valley. He was a member of the senior management team leading a part of $5 billion business unit. He's a former chair of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, chairman of Suno Assurance PLC, and he holds an MSc in nuclear engineering. Non-executive independent director on the board of Development Bank of Nigeria PLC, currently MD CEO African Operations in LAX. Help me welcome to the podium for the vote of thanks, Mr. Kyari Abubakar.
Thank you, Eugenia. Now I understand why Hilton needs to do something about the steps. It was Maya Angelou that said, "Be present in all things and grateful for all things." and I do believe our MD wanted me to stay through and be present in the entire affairs. So he gave me the assignment of vote of thanks. Of course, just as a tidbit of a bit of information, as an independent non-executive director, one must always be in a constant tension with management, and the discussion about investing in startups is something that is dear to my heart. I also wear another heart, that of a chairman of Ventures Platform. So Olumide and I probably go a long way in starting up investments in the tech ecosystem in Nigeria. And what I can share with the DG of NIDA, even though he's not here, is that indirectly, through our PFIs, DBN had granted in the last 6 years about 12.4 billion naira to over 300 SMEs. So that's just a factual statement. Now, we want more, definitely. As somebody who had raised money and invested in startups, the danger with startups is that some of them fail. In fact, majority of them fail. And that's the statistics, unfortunately. My role here is very simple, that of thanking each and every one of you for gracing this occasion. It's without you, we wouldn't be here, but it actually validates the thesis of Development Bank of Nigeria, in that it is focused primarily on enhancing and catalyzing and growing the economy of Nigeria through the most important aspect of the economic ecosystem, and that is the micro, small, and medium enterprises. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Vice President, who was ably represented by his advisor, Dr. Tope Fasuel, the DG NIDA for an exceptionally brilliant presentation, the President of the Senate, who was represented by our colleague in the banking sector, distinguished Senator Tokumbo Abiru, our chairman, who always graced this occasion. Of course, it is part of the responsibilities of being the chairman of the board. The keynote speaker, DG of NIDA, for the brilliant and exceptional presentation, and also the real meat of the discussions today, our four panelists, moderated by Prof. Nana. So Olumide, the medical doctor, who is technically also a startup entrepreneur, and also the other two panelists. I really wish to thank you guys for your time, your energy, and enthusiasm in bringing the conversation about what DBN does to the fore. Digital innovation and technology is becoming an essential part. I think Eugenia earlier on mentioned something about being an ancestor. So technically speaking, I qualify as an ancestor, having started the inkjet technology business, the desk jet technology business, cartridge business, with a $100,000 investment in 1988. And by the time I left HP, that business was generating over $20 billion in revenues. So all over the world, there are startups, and it is startups that end up becoming the giants and the multinationals and what have you. So with this, I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every participant, particularly the students of the two universities. If you come up with any idea, even if people say it's a stupid idea, pursue it, because that's how people change the world. Thank you very much.
Even if people say it's a stupid idea, pursue it. That's how we change the world. So my idea of the staircase, Your Excellencies and distinguished participants, has gone up to the Hilton. And so there has been some change. So there are railings. There didn't used to be railings. You can imagine me and my high heels, sir, trying to come up the stairs. And the many times I've anchored in this hall. This, for me, has been a really ennobling vote of thanks. We heard how from HP, $100,000 became 20 billion. That's the way to go. A non-executive director of the bank, and our vote of thanks, Aficionado, who has been the crowning of this afternoon. Please, let's give another round of applause to Mr. Kari Booker. Most people will deliver a vote of thanks that's not exciting, but he has done one that seems like a new paper. I'd like to say today that I've had a truly learning experience by being on this podium, and I'd like to thank DBN for giving me the honor to be the anchor of the DBN Annual Lecture Series 2023 with the theme, A Digital Nigeria, Leveraging Technology to Improve Ease of Doing Business in MSMEs. It has been my pleasure, again, to serve DBN, whose payoff is financing sustainable growth. My name is Eugenia Abu. You have been an excellent audience. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate. I think in 2 years, this is my second standing ovation, and I'm honored. Thank you so much. Thank you, MD and Chair, for the opportunity. Please be seated for 2 minutes of a breather while I get media to be ready, and then we'll be upstanding again to salute the nation. Is media good? All right. I don't want us to sit down and stand up suddenly. You know what it is. But I know that you are good. Remember, this is the door for exit. But first, rise to salute the nation. Have a great afternoon.